Both the Republican and Democratic parties have their own crosses to bear, from unpopular candidates to unattractive ideas. But when it comes to the number one issue in last year's midterm elections, they share a common problem. Both parties are seen as unreliable on the critical issue of health care, either because the last fix didn't go down well or because attempts to repeal it didn't go any better. I'm Tim Donner with 5 facts about how the two major parties have handled or mishandled health care, going back to the advent of Obamacare in 2010. Fact 1, President Obama made 3 fundamental promises about Obamacare that were not kept. To put the issue in perspective, healthcare is one of the nation's largest industries, representing almost 20% of America's GDP, gross domestic product, and costs have risen astronomically in the last half century plus, from an average of $146 per person in 1960 to almost $11,000 per person today. In selling the Affordable Care Act to the Congress and the American people 10 years ago, Obama said his plan would allow people to keep their doctor, keep their health insurance, and save the average family $2,500 a year. In fact, millions lost their doctor and their health insurance, and the cost for the average family rose some 25% just from 2017 to 2018. Fact 2, an Obamacare repeal in 2018, which might have changed the course of history, failed by the single vote of John McCain. This is a turn of events that received remarkably little media attention, perhaps because he died shortly thereafter. But in his last public act before his death, the late senator from Arizona reneged on his promise to vote for his own party's bill to repeal the Affordable Care Act, killing the bill by that one vote. And thus, with Republicans unable to fulfill their years-long promise to repeal Obamacare, even with control of the presidency, Senate, and House, the advantage that the GOP held on the issue was squandered, which leads to fact 3. Healthcare became the single most important issue to voters in 2018, and Democrats capitalized on the GOP's failure to repeal Obamacare, winning control of the U.S. House. While the economy is almost always the most important issue to voters, especially in presidential elections, and it's an issue that's personal for those who've gotten a new job or a raise and can afford to buy more, it's still an inherently numbers-based issue, pivoting on rates of economic growth and unemployment and wages and the like. But healthcare is the single most personal issue to virtually all voters. It hits closest to home and is fundamental to personal security. And so, despite having pushed through the unpopular Obamacare, unsupported by a single Republican in Congress, the Democrats pounced on the GOP's broken promise to repeal the ACA and won the day by simply promising not to change much of anything with Obamacare, which after 8 years has come to be viewed as a new entitlement. Fact 4. The majority of Democratic presidential candidates now favor replacing Obamacare with a government-controlled Medicare for All system, especially given that they are trying to do something very difficult, unseat an incumbent president in the midst of a strong economy. One would have expected the Democrats to continue pressing their advantage on the critical issue of health care for the 2020 presidential election. The frontrunner Joe Biden and a few of the 24 other hopefuls have tried to do so, but 3 of the top 4 candidates, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Bernie Sanders, support a full government takeover of the healthcare industry by making Medicare universal, Medicare for all. Now, Medicare, passed 55 years ago, is already weighed down by tens of trillions of dollars in unfunded liabilities. Debts the government has no way to pay without raising taxes or raising the age of eligibility. And Medicare for All would by itself cost taxpayers at least $30 trillion over a decade and threaten to almost double the current federal budget of $4 trillion per year. And that brings us to fact 5. Republicans have made several health care proposals, but none have attracted sufficient support. One GOP senator recently told me that the most effective free market health care plan would center on health savings accounts and so-called catastrophic insurance. HSAs allow people to control their own health care decisions and costs and save whatever they don't spend with no tax consequences. Low-cost, high-deductible catastrophic insurance would protect against incidents or conditions which cost more than, say, $10,000 a year out of pocket. But while the GOP has had many plans revolving around the free market, they failed to unite behind a single plan and have now turned their discussion to criticizing the Democrats' Medicare for All plan. No doubt healthcare will be a very important issue in the upcoming election. The question now is which party actually has the advantage. Obamacare was unpopular, is less unpopular now, and Democrats won with the issue 1 year ago. But all their top presidential candidates except one now support a full government takeover. Republicans have failed to repeal Obamacare and failed to offer an alternative that stands a chance to become law. So it's fair to say control of the health care issue is very much up for grabs. If you enjoyed this or learned a thing or two, please like and subscribe to the LibertyNation.com YouTube channel right here on your screen, because truth is making a comeback. I'm Tim Donner. Thanks for watching.